It's not every day you get slapped in the face by Elon Musk. So, like many entrepreneurs, I spend most of my time learning what not to do and then doing it anyways. And recently I stumbled across this clip.
The most common error of a smart engineer is to optimize a thing that should not exist.
And I was like, oh man, I literally did that a few weeks ago. So today I'm going to show you what it looks like when you do exactly what Elon says not to do, and then what it looks like to actually do it the right way around. So in the video, Elon outlines 5 steps to actually solve a problem. And number 1 is you question the requirements. Number 2, remove unnecessary steps. Number 3 is optimize. Number 4, accelerate. And number 5, automate. And he also states that he himself has made the mistake multiple times of going the reverse order. And the reverse order of this is you automate first, then you accelerate, then you simplify, and then you end up deleting the whole thing. Now, here's my version of this. When I was first trying to launch my community, I had like 10 people on a wait list. I was like a week into the whole process, trying to define my ideal customer profile, and I was doing a bit of research, looking at other successful communities that targeted startup founders. And something that stood out to me was YC's co-founder matching, and a particular feature for some reason really caught my eye, and it was the weekly updates feature. So what they would do is they would send you an email multiple times throughout the week just telling you to update your progress, and it would ask you, have you launched? How many weeks do you have until you launch? How many user conversations have you had? What did you learn from them? How's your morale? And just a couple of questions. And then they would ask you to name a couple of followers that could follow along your startup journey. And, as someone who is very big on accountability and who has worked with students in the past who needed sort of frequent checkups and follow-ups, I was like, oh my God, this is genius. This is perfect. This is what I need. This is the one thing that's going to determine the success of my community. And so, like any bad engineer, I started by figuring out how I could automate this thing, because it can't possibly be that I could just do this myself manually for 10 people at most, right? So even before reaching out to people and asking if they wanted this thing at all, I built this form from Google Forms. I was like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time forming this MVP. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do a bare bones MVP. I'm going to use Google Forms, and then I could record responses and send them to a sheet, which is here. And you might be like, hey, that's not too bad. You did like a minimal test and you could have launched right away, and that doesn't sound that bad. But it wasn't enough, because I was following what not to do to a T. I decided to write a query that would automatically update and track whether someone had updated their status in the past week. So their most recent update in this case was not on time, so it would automatically update to false, and it would show you the number of weeks since their last update. And you would be like, okay, seems a little bit excessive, but that's not that bad, right? Like, you just made a little dashboard so you can see who's updated their status and who hasn't. But it wasn't enough. I wasn't done. I then went on to make and decided to experiment with making a Klaviyo connection that would automatically pull data that was updated, see whether someone had updated their status or not, update that user info in Klaviyo on their profile, and then build a flow around it. And I was just about to launch and iterate and complete this flow when I caught myself. When I was like, oh, I've been here before. It wasn't even like a moment of clarity. It was that I got stuck on how to implement this Klaviyo integration. I was struggling with this for like a week straight, and I was thinking about, oh, maybe I can write an app script. I can write a little app that pulls in data from this, and then I could have a little database that updates. I was like, oh, I know how to do like Firebase stuff. Maybe I can set up a little web app, and then it would it would deploy. I can use like a no-code tool, deploy it to my community on Circle, and it will be amazing. It's going to be awesome. But somewhere along the line, I managed to grab a hold of myself somehow, and in a brief moment of sanity, I decided to take a little break from it and reach out to the people I had on my waiting list anyways. As it turns out, of the 10 people on that list, only one person was my ideal customer profile. The rest of the people were just like casually kind of dabbling. They weren't really interested in a community. They didn't really have an idea or an MVP. They were just interested in entrepreneurship kind of as a general concept. And of the person, when I asked the person that was actually interested whether this feature would work for them, they were like, I guess. It wasn't like a big make or break for them. The big appeal of the community proposition for them was that they would be surrounded by other entrepreneurs who were also working towards their big idea, and that they would be able to get sort of clarity, sanity checks, and that eventually, when enough people joined, I would be able to provide them access to VC investors and other founders and a broader network that would help them along their entrepreneurial journey, right? So the weekly accountability thing was just like not even on their radar. So what did I do instead? I scrapped the whole thing, deleted it, and then ended up just forming this one channel where people can post their weekly progress, and that was it. So the lesson here really is, I guess, twofold. Number one is that even if we know the general concepts, even if we know that we're not supposed to automate and like build out a whole idea before testing with users and questioning whether the idea is needed in the first place, if Elon Musk gets it wrong sometimes, it's okay for you to get it wrong, right? For most people don't need to be educated. They need to be reminded. And so the role of a good community, a good system that you have in place is to remind yourself of these basic concepts so you can kind of check your operating procedures. Check that you're not doing anything drastically stupid like I was in this case. And the second point is, as always, talk to users. Users are going to tell you everything that you need to know to build a successful company. So if you're in doubt, talk to users. It could save you a lot of time.